Imagine a night so brutally cold that it makes your worst winter memory seem like a mild breeze. That's what the Inuit people face as part of their normal lives. When the temperature outside dips to minus 85 degrees Fahrenheit, even your refrigerator would feel like a cozy retreat. Most of us start layering up and cranking the heat when a storm rolls in. But in the far north, comfort is a concept you leave behind. In the Arctic, the cold isn't just an inconvenience, it's a constant fight for survival. While we rely on forced air heating systems, hot showers, and thermal socks, the Inuit have learned to live through extremes without any of that. Over generations, they've developed ways to not just endure, but thrive in a landscape that seems utterly uninhabitable. To give you some perspective, gasoline can freeze solid, and if you throw boiling water into the air, it crystallizes before it hits the ground. That's not exaggeration, it's everyday reality up there. In conditions where the air itself feels hostile, the Inuit rely on something deceptively simple yet brilliantly designed: the igloo. Sure, it might look like just a dome of snow, but it's more like nature's version of smart architecture. Built entirely from the very thing most of us try to avoid, snow. It's a shelter that turns freezing elements into protection. But here's where it gets fascinating. Igloos aren't random snow piles. Builders use compacted snow, cutting it into blocks and laying them in a rising spiral. This technique forms a sturdy dome that follows a precise curve, engineered to distribute weight so evenly that it can handle windstorms and heavy snow without collapsing. And the snow they use? It's not the soft, fluffy stuff. It's hard-packed and filled with microscopic air pockets that trap warmth, like insulation in a high-end cooler. You won't find a fireplace inside an igloo, yet it stays warm, shockingly warm. Just by sharing body heat, the interior can climb to around 62 degrees Fahrenheit. No wires, no flames. Just brilliant use of space and science. Ever noticed how a small tent feels warmer than a large one in winter? Same idea, less volume, more trapped heat. And the design doesn't stop at warmth. Igloos are shaped to deflect harsh Arctic winds, and their entrances are sunken below the main floor. Cold air naturally settles low, while warm air rises and stays near the living space. This smart airflow design adds yet another layer of protection. For generations, the Inuit have faced some of the harshest conditions on Earth. And thanks to the ingenuity of structures like the igloo, they've turned survival into a way of life. At first glance, an igloo might look like just a dome of snow, but beneath that simple exterior lies a clever system of natural engineering. The design isn't about stacking blocks until a dome forms. It's about controlling how heat and cold interact. The floor inside is actually elevated above the entrance, and that's no accident. Since cold air is heavier, it drops and settles in the lower tunnel, while warmer air rises and lingers in the upper living area. This setup creates a natural layer of thermal protection, keeping the sleeping space surprisingly comfortable despite the brutal cold outside. That entrance tunnel isn't just for walking in and out. It acts more like an airlock. It slows the wind, stops freezing gusts from rushing inside, and keeps the inner space calm and contained. In larger igloos, there's even more thought put into the layout. Some are built with multiple chambers, separating cooking, sleeping, and storage into different areas. Basically, it's a full-on snow house, tailored to maintain warmth and function. But staying warm inside an igloo doesn't come solely from its shape. It's also about how it breathes. Without airflow, things can go south quickly. You might have noticed the tiny hole at the top of a traditional igloo. That isn't damage or decoration, it's critical. This vent allows fresh air to enter and circulate while keeping carbon dioxide from building up. Without that opening, the shelter could turn deadly, trapping stale, humid air and suffocating the people inside. Interestingly, that same rising warm air does more than just stay at the top. It helps strengthen the igloo. As it heats the interior surface of the snow, it causes a very thin layer to melt slightly. That melted moisture then seeps into micro cracks and gaps within the structure. But here's the twist. Because the outside air is still far below freezing, that melted layer quickly refreezes into ice. Over time, this creates a durable outer shell that reinforces the structure and seals it tight. It's like the igloo is upgrading itself, using the heat generated by its inhabitants to grow stronger. Even the size of the vent hole is something the Inuit have perfected. If it's too wide, heat escapes too easily. If it's too narrow, airflow is restricted and humidity rises dangerously. Finding the right balance ensures not only warmth, but also safety, a primitive yet highly effective form of passive ventilation. These small adjustments, refined through centuries of experience, show how the Inuit understand that even a snow shelter needs to breathe. And while the igloo provides a warm, protected space, it also has its limits. Imagine being inside with just a few people and one lit seal oil lamp. That might not sound like much, but it can actually raise the internal temperature significantly. In such a confined space, too much heat becomes a problem. That's why even inside an igloo, ventilation needs to be managed carefully. The other half of staying warm in the Arctic comes down to what you wear, and the Inuit approach clothing with the same strategy they use in shelter building. Layers with purpose. Their winter sleepwear isn't just heavy clothing, it's an integrated system designed for survival. Every layer serves a unique role, from moisture control to insulation to wind protection. It starts with the base layer, traditionally made from caribou skin with the fur turned inward. This material isn't just warm, it actively wicks moisture away from the skin. In freezing conditions, staying dry is as important as staying warm. Sweat is dangerous here. Any moisture held against the skin can freeze quickly, reducing body temperature and increasing the risk of hypothermia. The next layer focuses entirely on insulation. And here's where the Inuit have long understood something modern brands are still chasing. Air is the best natural insulator. Trapping warm air in thin pockets between materials creates a flexible, efficient layer of warmth. Unlike synthetic insulation, which flattens under pressure and loses effectiveness, these natural materials continue to work even when compressed. Finally, there's the outer shell. This layer is typically made from seal skin, with the fur facing outward to block wind and repel water. The natural oils in the seal skin make it nearly waterproof, stopping snow and moisture from soaking through. In fact, this traditional outerwear performs better in blizzard conditions than many modern weatherproof jackets. Where synthetic coats often fail under heavy snow or rain, Inuit gear keeps the elements out naturally and consistently. So when you step back and look at the entire system, the shape and design of the igloo, the built-in insulation, the controlled airflow, and the perfectly layered clothing, you start to realize that this isn't just survival, it's mastery. The Inuit haven't just adapted to the Arctic, they've created a complete way of life that works in harmony with one of the most extreme climates on Earth. What's remarkable about traditional Inuit clothing is how adaptable it is. Each layer can be adjusted depending on how the body feels. Too hot? Loosen the outer shell. Too cold? Tighten the layers and trap more warmth. It's like wearing a personal thermostat, giving you complete control without any electronics. Long before insulated jackets or thermal sleepwear hit the market, the Inuit had already perfected a system built entirely from natural resources. And it still works better than most modern gear today. Their sleeping bags are a perfect example. Made from seal skin on the outside and lined with caribou fur on the inside, they're not just warm, they're weatherproof. The outer seal skin layer is naturally water resistant thanks to the oils embedded in the hide. Snow, ice, or moisture simply slides off. And unlike synthetic materials that tend to stiffen or crack in freezing weather, seal skin remains soft and pliable, even when the temperature plunges. But the real magic happens inside. Caribou fur is unlike any synthetic fabric. It's made of hollow hairs, which create thousands of tiny air chambers. These act like built-in thermoses, trapping warm air close to the body. Just 1 square inch of this fur holds more warmth than most commercial sleeping bags on the market today. The design of the bag itself is equally smart. It wraps snugly around the body to lock in heat, but still allows for enough movement to stay comfortable. This thoughtful balance between insulation and flexibility shows that nature has long been a master engineer. In the Arctic, where the line between comfort and danger is razor thin, the Inuit didn't just find a way to survive, they found a way to do it efficiently and comfortably. The construction of Inuit sleeping bags is a masterclass in design and purpose. Every detail, down to the direction of the fur, serves a specific role. Caribou fur is not sewn randomly. Its hairs are aligned to trap warm air while letting out moisture, almost like a one-way valve that holds in heat but keeps sweat from soaking through. This level of precision reflects centuries of trial, error, and refinement. Even the stitching isn't what you'd expect. Instead of thread, the Inuit use sinew, dried animal tendon, which has a unique trait. It swells slightly when it gets wet. That swelling seals off seams, making them virtually waterproof. It's a technique I once dismissed as old-fashioned, until a so-called waterproof tent failed me during a rainy hike. The modern sealant cracked and leaked under pressure, while traditional Inuit stitching would have only tightened. In environments where failure isn't an inconvenience, but a life-threatening risk, this method proves its worth time and time again. The sleeping bag's shape is just as critical. Designed to wrap closely around the body, it eliminates dead airspace that could lead to cold spots. Yet, it isn't restrictive. It allows just enough movement to stay comfortable. Unlike modern synthetic sleeping bags, which flatten and lose insulation when compressed, the combination of seal skin and caribou fur retains warmth even under body weight. This synergy of waterproofing and insulation creates a shelter within a shelter, capable of withstanding the coldest Arctic nights. But the Inuit don't rely on the sleeping bag alone. Before they even lie down, they activate a centuries-old method to pre-warm their sleeping space. No electricity required. The secret? Heated stones. Not any rock will do. They carefully choose stones known to absorb and hold heat for hours. These are heated in a fire, then wrapped in thick furs to retain warmth. When placed inside the igloo, they work like natural hot water bottles, releasing heat gradually throughout the night. Some of these stones can hold temperatures close to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, even after being removed from the fire. But what really makes this system work is the thoughtful placement. The stones are never scattered haphazardly. 1 or 2 are nestled near the feet, because cold feet can ruin a night's sleep. And others are positioned near the torso, where heat is most effectively absorbed by the body. Throughout the night, these stones are rotated to keep the warmth consistent. Interestingly, this method also benefits the igloo structure itself. As the stones emit heat, they slightly melt the inner surface of the snow walls. That moisture quickly refreezes, forming a thin, icy shell. Far from being a problem, this adds structural strength and improved insulation. So, the same stones that keep people warm are also reinforcing the shelter around them. Some Inuit communities even built a system where families worked together to maintain the fires and prepare the stones, ensuring there was always a supply of heat. This tradition goes beyond individual survival. It's a shared practice. Larger igloos often housed extended families, creating communal warmth that no single person could generate alone. Raised sleeping areas help retain heat at the highest point, while tightly packed snow blocks keep the cold from sneaking in. Inside, the temperature can be over 50 degrees Fahrenheit, warmer than the frigid landscape outside. all without a single wire or battery. The ingenuity behind this way of life isn't accidental. It's the result of knowledge passed down and improved over generations. The Inuit didn't just find a way to live in one of the most punishing climates on Earth. They built a lifestyle where warmth, safety, and comfort come not from modern tools, but from a deep understanding of the environment and a commitment to working with it, not against it. In the Arctic, warmth is never taken for granted. It's shared, conserved, and maximized however possible. While most of us might think of borrowing a cup of sugar from a neighbor, Inuit culture leans towards something far more vital: shared heat. Instead of each person sleeping in isolation, warmth becomes a group effort. Heated stones help, sure, but there's another consistent, tireless source of warmth that never runs out: the human body. You might not think of yourself as a space heater, but your body naturally produces heat around the clock. In fact, a single person can generate roughly the same amount of warmth as a compact electric heater. Now, imagine a few family members sleeping close together in a tightly insulated snow structure. That's a lot of natural heat in a small space. This is not accidental. The Inuit have long understood that proximity equals survival. Unlike modern preferences for personal space, survival in the Arctic means working together, literally. By huddling together through the night, they amplify warmth without burning a single stick of firewood or using a drop of fuel. It's simple, effective, and works as long as someone is there. In a setting where the outside temperature can dip to minus 85 degrees Fahrenheit, staying close isn't awkward, it's necessary. And it doesn't stop at body heat. The very way igloos are structured plays a major role in heat conservation. The sleeping area isn't flat on the ground, it's elevated. This clever design takes advantage of how warm air naturally rises. Just like the top bunk in a bed is always toastier, the raised platform inside an igloo captures the warmest air, keeping sleepers out of the cold zone where heavier air settles. With enough people sharing body warmth and positioned smartly within the shelter, the temperature inside can rise by as much as 42 degrees Fahrenheit compared to the outside. That kind of increase can turn an otherwise brutal night into something manageable, maybe even comfortable. There's no maintenance, no power button, and no chance of a system breakdown. As long as people are present, the heat flows. But maintaining that warmth doesn't stop at clothing or shelter. It also involves how you breathe. In freezing air, simply inhaling through your mouth can feel like a punch to the chest, causing a sensation not unlike a brain freeze. Breathing in such conditions isn't just uncomfortable, it can be dangerous. That's why the Inuit developed a breathing method that protects the body's internal temperature. They breathe through their noses, not their mouths. This small change makes a big difference. The nasal passages act as a natural heater, warming air by as much as 82 degrees Fahrenheit before it reaches the lungs. It's an instinctive method that helps prevent internal cold injuries and frostbite in lung tissue. What's even more impressive is how this technique reduces water loss. Rapid breathing in sub-zero conditions can dehydrate the body faster than most people expect, even more quickly than in some deserts. Today, scientists call this process respiratory heat exchange, but the Inuit had already mastered it through generations of lived experience, long before it had a scientific name or explanation. They didn't need white coats or lab equipment to figure out that shallow, rapid breathing was useless in the brutal Arctic cold. Instead, they mastered the art of slow, deep breathing, minimizing the intake of icy air while preserving core body warmth. Jogging-style breaths might help you on a city sidewalk, but out here, they're as helpful as sunscreen in a snowstorm. In fact, some Inuit developed a clever trick that doubled as a built-in air warmer, breathing into their fur-lined clothing. The material captured a small cushion of warm, moist air, letting them rebreathe heat-infused air rather than sending frigid gusts straight to their lungs. It was like wearing a thermal mask powered entirely by body heat. And it gets better. That same breath, once exhaled, didn't go to waste. The moisture it contained froze onto the inner surface of the fur, gradually forming a thin crust of ice. Sounds uncomfortable? Quite the opposite. This layer of frost actually added insulation, an Arctic upgrade that turned every breath into a building block for warmth. It's the kind of practical brilliance that comes from living fully in tune with your environment. Breathing wasn't static either. It changed with activity. During movement, Inuit breath became shallow and fast, not to conserve heat, but to avoid overheating. While resting or sleeping, their breathing slowed down, conserving warmth and energy, like downshifting an engine in winter. Efficiency wasn't just a feature of their clothing or homes, it extended to the rhythm of their lungs. But breathing and shelter alone won't keep a body warm. That takes fuel, and in the Arctic, the Inuit diet functions like high-octane gasoline. To endure temperatures cold enough to freeze engine oil, their meals are packed with fat, more energy-dense than anything you'll find on a supermarket shelf. Take whale blubber. It contains over 9 calories per gram, more than double what's found in a typical protein bar. A portion of this fatty powerhouse is enough to sustain a person through an entire day of hunting, hauling, or shelter building. To a modern nutritionist, the sheer volume of fat in a traditional Inuit diet might seem alarming. But in this environment, fat isn't the enemy, it's the fuel. The brilliance lies in the timing and composition of meals. Some foods, particularly those rich in fat, are saved for the evening. Why? Because fat digests slowly, releasing warmth steadily through the night. It's like setting your internal heater to a low, steady burn until morning. Seal meat, raw fish, and thick-skinned whale blubber form the foundation of this energy strategy. Think of them as nature's version of thermal batteries, completely edible and astonishingly effective. Even the way they prepare food shows intentional design. Try biting into frozen meat straight out of sub-zero air, and you're likely to crack a tooth. The Inuit avoid that entirely by cutting meat into ultra-thin strips, which thaw quickly against body heat or between layers of clothing. They also discovered that raw fats preserve their insulating properties better than cooked ones, a fact that modern science has only recently validated. During the coldest months, up to 75% of their total diet may come from fat. Imagine eating the equivalent of a stick of butter with every meal. But this version comes loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and nutrients essential for managing extreme cold. It's not just about calories, it's about building internal resistance to freezing conditions. But physical warmth is only one piece of the puzzle. Mental resilience plays a huge role in Arctic survival. Sleeping in an igloo when the wind howls and temperatures hover at minus 85 degrees Fahrenheit isn't just about physical prep. It's about psychological conditioning. The Inuit have a mindset around rest that rivals today's best sleep science. They don't fight the cold with fear or stress. They embrace stillness. They tell stories before bed, not just to pass time, but to build what could be called thermal confidence. These tales teach that their shelter is secure, their bodies are safe, and the cold is manageable. One favorite tale tells of a hunter so at peace inside his igloo that he slept through the change of seasons, missing spring entirely. It's humorous, yes, but also a clever way to ease the mind and invite sleep without stress. Less stress equals lower cortisol levels, and that in turn helps the body hold on to heat more effectively. In a world where most of us depend on thermostats, hot showers, and double-paned windows, the Inuit offer a masterclass in survival, achieved not through gadgets, but through understanding. They've built a lifestyle where every breath, bite, and bedtime ritual contributes to warmth. No wires, no batteries, just centuries of human adaptation and wisdom shaped by snow, wind, and ice. Their knowledge proves that the most extreme environments don't always demand the most advanced technology. Sometimes, the best solutions are the oldest ones, the ones tested not in labs, but in the wild, where the only metric that matters is whether you make it through the night. Among the many quiet strengths of the Inuit, one stands out that modern science only recently gave a name to: thermal meditation. This isn't a flashy practice or a set of complex techniques. It's a mental discipline that helps conserve energy and heat while sleeping in frigid conditions. Instead of focusing on the biting air outside, Inuit individuals train their attention inward, centering their minds on the warmth their own bodies produce. It's like creating a personal thermostat by thought alone. This focus doesn't just bring comfort, it delivers real physiological benefits. Practicing thermal meditation slows heart rate and metabolism by as much as 10%, reducing oxygen demands and minimizing heat loss. It's the kind of adaptation that turns survival into something sustainable. In a place where warmth is scarce and every heartbeat counts, training the mind becomes just as essential as insulating clothing or a well-built igloo. But survival here has never been a solo mission. In the Arctic, staying alive depends on cooperation, and the Inuit understand this deeply. Their communities operate as coordinated systems, where warmth, safety, and supplies are shared intentionally. Families sleep together inside communal igloos, forming what could be called thermal clusters. It may sound cozy, but the benefit is scientific. Shared body heat in an enclosed space can raise the temperature to as much as 55 degrees Fahrenheit, no fire required. Their approach to shared survival is layered with thoughtful structure. The best sealskin sleeping bags are rotated among family members, offered to elders, the injured, or those who've just returned from exhausting hunts. No one hoards warmth, it's passed along like a shared fire. Roles are also divided with purpose. One group may be skilled in carving dense, wind-resistant snow blocks. Another might focus on constructing raised sleeping platforms at just the right height to trap rising heat. Others develop an uncanny sense for snow quality, able to judge whether a site will insulate well or collapse after a storm. Even travel across these frozen lands is never left to chance. The Inuit have created emergency shelters, small, reliable structures placed at key points along traveled routes. These aren't makeshift shacks. They're stocked with supplies, have raised platforms for sleeping, and offer a brief haven for anyone caught in a sudden whiteout. In some ways, they resemble a chain of survival outposts. No currency is exchanged, just the unspoken promise that warmth is available to whoever needs it. And amidst this intense environment, humor plays a surprising but essential role. Laughter becomes more than entertainment, it becomes medicine. One well-loved tale tells of a man whose thunderous snoring forced him to sleep in a separate igloo, only for his family to regret it after realizing they missed the body heat he provided. It's a light story, but its purpose is clear. When survival is tough, morale matters. Even a chuckle can make the cold feel less heavy. In the end, the Arctic teaches a profound truth. Survival isn't just about strong structures or layered clothing. It's about shared effort, self-discipline, and a belief that no one should have to face the cold alone. The true strength of the Inuit lies not only in their gear or techniques, but in the way they've built a culture that turns every member of the group into a source of warmth, both physical and emotional.